What's up, everybody? Belligerent here with another Bloodline video. Before we jump into it, let me throw three quick things at you. Upper left-hand corner of your screen right now, you should see our Discord invite code. This code is also down in the description, the full link, so you can just click the link, come on over. We have a blast. We are theory crafting. We are testing ideas. We are debating ideas. We're talking about team comps. Come on over, check it out, be part of our community. Bottom left-hand corner is the server of the guild that I run, part of a multi-server guild on this game. We filled up on one server, so we expanded to other servers. 295 is the server I kind of oversee, but I am part of all of the guilds that we have going on. But come on up to 295, come hang out with us, be part of the crew. We're getting filled up fast, so make sure you come on over. And now the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you see the referral link. Take this code, go to your community tabs, which are the little chat bubbles on the left-hand side of your hometown screen. You click in there, there'll be a spot for you to put this code so you can get some rewards. You have to be prior to stage 320 in order to put this code in. You get some rewards, including 100 diamonds once you pass stage 320. So use that, and now let's jump into the video. All right, y'all, it's time. And I'm excited, and you should be excited too. It's time for another tier list, everybody's favorite thing. At least everybody's favorite thing to roast me about after I'm done. So let's jump into it. Like, I'm excited to do this tier list. It's version 3 of the tier list. We have 3 new clans to include in this tier list, and a lot has changed about my opinions on these champions. So let's touch on a few things first before we jump into this, okay? If you haven't watched any of my other tier list videos, this is how I approach tier lists. If I do this correctly, the majority of champions should be in the average category. In this case, because it's the gamer way to do things, we use S, A, B, C, D. So B is going to be our average category. Okay, so even if the majority of the champions in the game suck, that means the average for all the champions in the game is suck. I don't believe in putting 75% of the champions in S tier or 75% of the champions in F tier. Like, the majority of the champions should be average. And then there's going to be some that's better, then there's going to be some that's worse. Okay? With this tier list, I'm going to warn you, we're going to get a little picky, I guess. We're turning up the volume and the expectations on these champions. My S tier list is going to be really small this time around. I contemplated making an S plus category. I even recorded another tier list video with the S plus. But that's just not me. Like, we have 5 categories. We don't need to add extras. If there's some that are that much better, then that means the rest should be in A's, right? So expect some big changes from the other tier list videos you've seen from me. So let's get into it. Let's get excited. Remember that this is kind of like, most of my opinion is around campaign, but I don't ignore the other stuff. Like, I don't ignore the bosses and stuff. I don't like doing bosses, but I don't ignore all that stuff. But this is primarily kind of around campaign, okay? And also remember, I always say this, but people still always argue with me about it. Just because I put your champion in a tier that you don't agree with, that doesn't mean that they're not good. That doesn't mean that you can't play them. If you watch this tier list and you're like, I got to figure out what champions to use. Just because a champion is in the lower tier doesn't mean they're unusable, doesn't mean you can't like them, doesn't mean you can't discover something that I haven't discovered. This is just my opinion, and really what are tier lists? Tier lists are conversation starters, or maybe argument starters is a better way to put it. But these are my opinions. You're free to use your own. And again, this doesn't mean that a champion isn't good if they're in a lower tier. It just means that there are other champions that are better, do more. Maybe they do the same thing plus, okay? So let's jump into this. We're going to do the clans basically in the order that you find them in your clan codex. Okay, so Sallyhorn's up first. Male Sallyhorn. We're going to put them in B tier. Tanks are not that strong. Tanks are not as strong as I want to. But as you're going to see, B tier is going to probably end up being high for a lot of these tank types. I really like M. Sally. He's a very unique tech with his displacement. He displaces the champ. And the thing that's great about his displacement is it happens immediately. He doesn't have to wait for his third attack. Happens immediately. And it's a stun. And he draws a lot of aggro because he dives the back line. So everybody, the proximity, if you've watched my position video, like the proximity kicks in and everybody starts to target him. He's a really good tank. I really like what he brings to the table, but we've upped the bar a little bit, and he's just not, he just doesn't have a place on the board right now. So we're going to put him in B tier. Female Sallyhorn is just bad. I mean, if we had the AI version of female Sallyhorn who just intermittently regenerates all of her health, she might be okay. But as of right now, she doesn't dash, she doesn't stun, she jumps up and pounds the ground, which 90% of the time nobody's around to get hit by anyway. She's just not that good. All right. Male Carg. We're going to give him a C tier. Most of you are probably like, dude, Cargs are bad. Carg should be D tier. And you're right. Female Carg is D tier. I'm giving the male just a slight nudge above because of his active ability. His active ability applies burn, which, yes, does combo with the Ignis clan. Now, I'm not saying you should use male Carg for that. You're probably better off playing a stronger champion and just marrying the Pyromancer trait to them. But if you didn't want to do that, if you wanted to use them as a placeholder until you could do that, until you get your Pyromancer leveled to the place where you want it, or if you just really like the Cargs and you want to find a way to put them in, then the male Carg has some synergy there with the Ignis clan that the female doesn't. So I'm going to give him a slight nudge above, but they're both really bad. All right. The Trevain clan, we're going to put him in C. He is, and this again is probably more of resetting the bar, but he's in C tier. He does some nice things, but it's difficult to find a place for him. You could find a place for him if you needed the tech, but I think you get the tech from so many other people in so many better ways. He has the root, which let's call it what it is. They call it a root, but it's a stun. It's a 1 second stun. They just stand there for 1 second. That's exactly what a stun is. I don't know why they decided to give it a different name. His ultimate strips fortitude of anybody it hits, but that's the key. It has to hit them. You could just play somebody else that strips armor, strips fortitude from everybody. So he has some okay techs there. As meta shifts, maybe he finds a place. He could find a place into a boss team. That way you could root the boss. You could strip the boss's armor and still apply some DPS. The problem with the other options that do that is it's not necessarily the best way to do it. So he might have a tech there. All right. Female Trevain. I'm going to put her in A tier. For most people, she probably fits more in the B tier, but I'm giving her the A tier because she is queen of the bosses. Her percentage of whatever it is, health damage that she does, makes her queen of the bosses. You really can't out damage female Trevain with any other champion just because of the way her attacks work. Now, it doesn't work well in PvP or campaign or anything like that because one Lux ult, and not only is she going to kill the enemy, she's going to kill your entire team too. And she's single target. Single target struggles so bad in our meta. But because she excels in so many, because she excels so greatly over everybody in the other categories, so your guild bosses, your expedition bosses, things like that, I'm going to put her in A tier. And because they introduced those 2 new bosses who have they're even bigger bullet sponge, and it's even more about damage, and hers is percentage of, whatever it is, percentage of your health or max health or whatever it is. Like, that's huge on those giant bullet sponge targets. So I got to give her the respect of that. All right, now we're into the Yvnane clan. I just call him Yiv because that word doesn't make sense. I probably say this every video. I'm sorry. All right, so we have the male Yiv. I remember when I first made the clan series, I chose the female over the male. And my opinion about the male has probably changed every video that I have done. The more and more I use them, the more and more I look at the way the game interacts, the more and more I learn from other people, the people I chat with on my Discord, the more and more I play the game, I start to understand the value of his energy control, and nobody else in the game gives it to you. And let's face it, right now our meta is whoever can get their ults off first from their 2 to 3 nuke mages is probably going to win the game. And so, whoever can get the female Lionstone ult off first, or whatever buff you're running first, and his basic attacks chunk down your energy. His ultimate can remove all of your energy. So you're delaying ultimates, and I just can't get away from him. Yiv is S tier. And this is going to be a very exclusive tier. Don't misinterpret it. This is not going to be the same S tier you've seen in other videos. I promise you this video is going to be a shock the way that it plays out for some of you. And I'm probably going to hear it in comments. And I want to hear it. That's what I expect from my tier videos. Male Yiv, S tier. Female Yiv, on the other hand, we're putting her in C tier. I don't even think she's average. I think, look, right now we have 4 assassins, and some of you are going to get a kick out of this because a lot of my early videos were all based around who fills the role the best, and she is the best at being a quote-unquote assassin. But she might be the weakest of all 4 assassins. She's single target damage in a multi-target meta, and that's really all she offers. She offers almost nothing else except for finding a target with the lowest health and finishing him off for you. It's single target. It's not that strong. All right. Male Carg, putting him B tier. He's an okay tank. He's kind of the best of the rest, right? We all know the good tanks, Lionstone, Sally, male Carg, even with his buff that he got. And I think to this point, he's the only champion we've seen get an actual buff. They added that lifesteal to his ultimate. Everybody else has just been bug fixes. So that's kind of interesting. But I think even with that, he doesn't add enough for you for him to top the list here. Okay. The female Carg, on the other hand, I gotta put her in D tier. I don't see a reason for her to ever be on your board. I really don't. Unless you just like the look of them, unless you want to go, unless you're trying to run an all orc board or something I don't know why you would ever play her. She doesn't offer anything that isn't offered by somebody else who is also going to be better than what she does. All right. Male Ignis, we're just putting him B tier. He's strong. He's got the Pyromancer. He works okay in a Pyromancer comp if you want to do that. His shortcoming is and it's not even single target, but it's the true definition of AoE, right? It is an area that gets affected, and if they're not in that area, he could blow up 3-4 units at a time, or he could only hit one, or he could miss completely because he targets an area, and if they're standing in that area, they get hit. If they're not, they don't. So he's not quite as good as the other AoE mages in the game. And that's just all there is to it. The meta is AoE nuke mages. That's what it is. So female Ignis, on the other hand, we're putting A tier. She is, in my opinion, the best mage in the game. She's probably... Now, I'm not putting these tiers in order. I don't do that. It would take too much time and too much thought. But she is probably the best of the A tier, in my opinion. But yeah. Male Lux. We don't have a category low enough for him. I should have made a F tier. Not S, F tier, just for him. But I didn't do that. I didn't make an S plus tier. I'm not making an F tier. But he is the worst champion in the game. And I've said this for a while, and I got to tell you a little behind the scenes stuff. Like, we were working on a comp, and we thought we found a way to make him a viable cog in kind of a specific comp, and maybe dig himself up out of the garbage bin of worst champions, but that didn't work out either, so he's still there. Female Lux, on the other hand, I'm going to drop in B tier. She's not an AoE mage. A lot of people value her charm more than I value her charm. But I still respect the charm and the things that it can do, the things that you can do with it, especially as you get higher up in level. Having control or having assistance from one of the enemy's targets for that long, having them attack their own team for that long, it's decently strong. Okay? And what makes her so much stronger than the male is that when she charms a target, your team can still target that target. They don't drop aggro. They don't become immune to damage. They don't stand around and wait for your team to lose their health like Banish does. Charm, they're still targetable. Your team can still attack them while they attack somebody else, so it's good. Male Zace. We're going to put in C tier. I wish... I think he has some buff elements with his passive where he puts the ward on the back line. It also protects them, so it kind of drops if the other team has, like a Emyev, if they're using that and they jump on the back line. They lose some of their fortitude and things like that. So he has some of that supportishness to him. I wish his ultimate was faster. And you've probably heard me say it in these videos for a while now that I thought silence was broken. It was mostly based on him. I've been paying a lot more attention to it lately, and I think what it is I just didn't understand when the silence from his ultimate took effect, because he throws down the circle on the ground, and you see these 4 pillars come up out of the ground, and I thought that's when the silence occurred. But it's not. It's while he, the ability is still channeling, and then it closes into a dome, and that's when the ability actually takes place. It's 5 to 7 business days for this thing to close and for you to get any, and by then either the target that you were trying to silence is dead, or the target that he was trying to silence has moved. So it's just not usable. I wish it was. If they could cut that animation down by 2/3, so as soon as it hits the ground it was causing a silence, that would be one thing. But when, understand, everybody is kind of earning energy at the same rate. So when he gets to trigger his ultimate and it goes down on the ground to silence somebody, and they get to trigger their ultimate at roughly the same period, when it takes his 5-10 seconds to finally channel itself and silence somebody, they already used their ultimate, and so you're getting no value out of the silence. So it's just I want it to be better. I hope they look at that. I hope they change it. Goat Games, if you're listening, just cut down the animation on male Zace, and he would be a great support companion. That silence would be massive if it happened when he cast it rather than happening 5 to 7 business days afterwards. Let's change that. All right, female Zace, I am not a huge fan of. I know a lot of people are a fan of female Zace. She is a great single target mage. She's almost a marksman in the way that she blows up a single target. So I think that she would be good in maybe like a boss comp. I don't know if she would be the best choice. I haven't put a lot of time into boss comps, but because she's single target, she might be very good in a boss comp, especially with her increased crit rate. But then on the other hand, she has the same problem with her ultimate, where it takes, I mean, I think hers takes 7 to 10 business days. She like stands there doing like the rain dance for 10 seconds, and then the ball finally drops out of the sky. Like, if she doesn't get killed while she's doing her little magical rain dance. Like, I don't understand why this clan takes so long to channel their ultimates. Like, fix it. But yeah, for now, because of the strength of her damage, we're going to put her in B tier. All right, male Oogle, I think is almost as useless as the Cargs. He's probably a little bit stronger than the female Carg. Honestly, he's probably a little stronger than the male Carg. And the male Carg belongs in the D tier, but the male Carg has some synergy with Ignis, and that's what gives him the bump up. Male Oogle is really useless. He doesn't do anything but whack you with his axes. His ultimate, he roars for, he's almost like the Cargs, because they both do this really elaborate, over-the-top, like, roar as they're getting into their ultimate, and you know what happens? They're usually killed by the time the ultimate actually takes place. So, yeah, look, warriors are just bad in general. The whole class is bad. So, warriors are not going to get very high ranks in this, but the Cargs and male Oogle are kind of just the worst. The queen, as some people like to call her. I like to call her Miss Spin to Win. Female Oogle, however, she's going to be an A tier. The best warrior in the game. Everybody knows the power of female Oogle. If there are ever changes made to the meta, if we ever get out of this AoE nuke mage meta, her stock is going to rise. Like, if we can actually play the game instead of just see how fast we can trigger Ignis and Folger, her stock will rise even more, because she's really strong, except in this current meta, she's, not that great. Because it's all about the AoE mages. But as far as warriors are concerned, she's top tier. All right. Male Elsilith. Okay. We're going to give him B tier. I'm not a huge fan of the Elsilith clan. However, he has some unique things working with him. His passive triggers when enemies have a negative effect on them, and it's so easy to apply negative effects in this game. Probably like 75% of the champions apply some type of negative effect, so you can take advantage of that. His ultimate is interesting. He, on paper, is a phenomenal counter to female Lionstone, because he cleanses the board, right? He cleanses the entire enemy team of all their buffs. The problem is, female Lionstone throws up her ult. You have to find the split second to drop his ult after her ult goes off, but before the rest of their team triggers their ults. There's just not a big enough window there. If you mistime it, you're not going to cleanse the buff because the buff hasn't happened yet. If you're too late and the ults already go off, well, you just took all of the brunt of the buff. On paper, he's a great counter to female Lionstone. In practice, I don't think it's practical to expect, like, maybe manual play, he could be a great counter to female Lionstone. But even then, like, her buff only lasts 5 seconds. And as I said earlier, usually when her ult triggers, everybody's ult is very close behind. So it's going to take great timing. I think you could pull it off manually. That's why we put him kind of in B average tier. But yeah, that's it. Female Elsilith has to go on the bottom tier. Her entire kit is based around attack slow, and attack speed is not working in the game right now, so she's really just an elf girl that stands there with a bow and arrow. Right? Just understand, her entire kit is broken. Her passive is her basic attacks apply attack slow. Her active ability applies attack slow. Her ultimate ability applies attack slow. If they ever fix attack speed, she will probably skyrocket up the board as far as her tier. But right now, her entire kit is broken. There's literally no reason to play this champion. She's almost as bad as male Lux, except for she doesn't help the enemy team. He does. That's why he's last. I'm going to put him last just so you always remember. Worst champion in the game. All right. Second to worst champion in the game is female Asin. Since we're at the Asin clan, female Asin completely useless. Don't use her. Like if you have her in your on your team and you're losing, now you know why. I just told you why. Don't use her. Male Asin. Okay, I think he's kind of similar to Yiv in that every one of my videos, my opinion of him has kind of grown and risen. He's very strong. Maybe you've seen my ultimate support guide. If you haven't, you should probably go check it out. Male Asin, though, is S tier. Understand this. He is probably the closest thing in the game that we have to a perfect champion. I'm going to say that again. Male Asin is the closest thing we have in this game to a perfect champion. Let's think about this for a minute. Before you all roast, I know you're going to roast me, but before you roast me, let me just explain. All right? Let's take a look at his active ability. What is his active ability? His active ability is he shields a teammate. He's got a little bit of tank in him. He's got some support there. I'm going to shield you. I'm going to protect you. Okay? It works great with male Yiv when male Yiv dive bombs the back line and everybody turns and targets him, and Asin can drop a shield on him to help him absorb some more damage. It works out really well. Or female Lionstone, who's on the front line, is taking a whole bunch of damage and about to die. Asin just drops a slick little shield there on her. So his active ability shields, supports, tanks, whatever you want to call it. His ultimate ability. What meta are we in? I've said it a few times. I'll give you a couple seconds. Think about it. We're in an AoE nuke mage meta. What's his ultimate? It's an AoE nuke mage. Hits everything on the board. Hits him really hard, too. Okay? Rumor has it that it also drops the strength of the enemy with the highest strength. It kind of nukes their strength. I don't know if that's true or not. There's not really a whole lot of way for us to tell. I haven't tested it by watching damage numbers, but that's the rumor, is that it targets, not only does it hit everybody, but it also drops the strength of the enemy with the highest strength. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, it's even that much stronger. But I don't even care about, I don't use it because of that. I use it because it blows up the board. And then what's his passive? At max, his passive is a 30% team strength buff. What's the strongest trait in the game? What's the strongest stat in the game? What's the most influential stat in the game? It's strength. So I have strength buff, I have shielding, and I have board nuke. He's like the perfect champion. All right, let's move on. Oops, I'm moving people around. Doombringers. Okay. They're both warriors. Male is a C tier. He's not that great. Female is going to get B tier respect. She's probably, other than female Oogle, the best warrior in the game. She has some CC to her. She has some lifesteal to her. But look, the warrior, like, I can't talk glowingly about the warrior class just because of the meta. Change the meta, please, so we can use something else. All right, Folgers. How are we going to do this here? So, male Folger, female Folger. Here's how we're going to do it. But I'm going to put in a disclaimer here. So hear me out before you freak out about this. I actually think female Folger is better for damage. Why? Because of her little electro ball thing she throws out there. Okay? She throws out the little electro ball. It does a bunch of damage, especially because a lot of times I have been getting the female Lionstone buff ult before she actually throws out the electro ball. The only problem with the electro ball is it takes 10 to 7 business days to actually apply the damage. I don't know what this lag is with the damage on that. The other thing is, I feel like her ult is bugged. Does anybody else feel like female Folger's ultimate is bugged? Like, I feel like, and maybe it's similar to the electro ball and where the damage is coming afterwards, but I feel like there's times where she charges up her ultimate and it explodes out, and I'm like, nobody took any damage. What happened? And there's other times she triggers her ultimate and everything dies. Like, it feels bugged to me. I feel like they need to fix her. And that's why I put her lower than him. He feels better. I also love the stun that he has with his every 3 attacks as a stun, whatever it is. I'm not a fan of the shield, just because I don't think shielding is that strong anymore. I know that differs from what I've said in the past before. I've actually put him above her in the past because of his shield, but I don't think the shielding is, like, I would rather have her electro ball than his shielding. But he doesn't feel broken to me. It feels like when he does his ultimate, everybody gets hit the way they're supposed to get hit. He stuns people. Like, I feel like they need to fix her. If they fix her, if she feels more solid when I use her, then she'll be above him. I think they're more or less in the same spot. They could both be up in A tier. But because we're being a little more strict with our S's and A's now, I'm putting her down in B tier. All right, male Lionstone. Everybody knows that I'm a big fan of male Lionstone. I have been the entire time that I've been playing the game. All of my tier lists, you know where he belongs. I really wish that would stop disappearing when I scroll. Anyway, male Lionstone. We're throwing him up in A tier. He is the best, quote-unquote, tank, the best at protecting your team from the tank clan. His shields are very strong when they're buff. So male Asin, female Lionstone, stuff like that. The shields are nice and strong. All right, female Lionstone. Boy, has it been a roller coaster with her, right? She came out, she was bugged. She was buffing the other team as well as our team. Look, let's say it how it is, and I've had people argue with me about this the entire time, but I'm still sticking to my guns. You guys can stick to your guns if you want to, that's cool. But female Lionstone is not a good tank. Let's look at this. Her active. She shields a teammate. And then she takes damage. She takes 75% of their damage, or whatever the percentage is. She takes damage, and they still take damage. Well, I got male Lionstone that shields the whole team, and he doesn't have to take damage. I got male Asin that shields a teammate, and they don't have to take damage. But she's taking damage from shielding somebody. That's so bad. So bad. Okay? Now, what is her passive? Her passive is she reduces damage from ranged attacks. And I still, because of the wording, I don't know if that's her or the entire team that is taking less damage from ranged attacks. But that's still kind of, I mean, that's a little bit okay, I guess. Damage reduction is good, but it's not that impactful of a passive. It really isn't. So she's just not really a good tank. But she's the best champion in the game. She, I think I had some of y'all going, getting ready to scream at the video, didn't I? She is the #1 must put on your board champion in the game. Her ultimate is too strong not to have on the board. 393% strength buff at max. It also buffs attack speed, but that's broken, so we don't care. 393% buff at max. And here's another hint for some of you. It doesn't matter what rarity. Rarity does not affect their ability power. She gives you the same buffs at common as she does at mythic. If you own her, she needs to be on your board. If she's not on your board and you own her, you're doing it wrong. She's not a good tank. But all we need her to do is pop off her ultimate once, and then we need our AoE mages to nuke the board. We win, GG. All right. The gun dwarves. What are we going to do with the gun dwarves? I'm putting him one step above her for this. He can one-shot a target with his ultimate. But let's face it. The Huntsdorf are a broken clan, and they will be until they fix their Badger. Now, if we had Raid Boss Badger that we all have to fight during the campaign, if we had this Raid Boss Badger that could tank all this damage, they would be a top-tier clan. But we don't. We have fall over and die from a fart Badger who runs out there, and the first enemy that farts, he falls over and he dies. And then that's it. And then their kit, for some reason, is completely revolved around this Badger. Commands the Badger. When the Badger's attacking, you have increased attack speed. This and that about the Badger. But the Badger, their ultimate's even based around the Badger, but I've never seen the Badger live long enough to get to an ultimate. So they're just bad. But I'm going to put him... But here's the other thing. The Badger is an interesting tech where you can throw off the opponent's targeting, because the Badger runs out there ahead of everybody. Everybody attacks the Badger. Okay, so you can throw off targeting a little bit momentarily, which could be enough time for you to get the advantage. And because he does so much single target damage with his ultimate, I'm going to put him out there. But other than that, they both probably belong in D, and I'm probably putting him up in C just to kind of even some of this out, if I'm being completely honest, because I have too many bad tier champions, and I don't want to be uneven. But the gun dwarves, not good. You shouldn't be running them. Tidestorm clan. All right. Male Tidestorm, y'all know where he's going. He's gone there every single video, and he is still there, except for in this video. Our old S tier is kind of the A tier. He's just not these three in S tier are... I'm to the point where I think I only have 2 spots to play with on my board, because Lionstone, Asin, and Male Yiv are taking up 3 of my board slots, no matter what composition I'm running. I would say Male Yiv is probably the weakest of those, the most debatable, not weakest, the most debatable of those S tier champions. Tide, very strong S tier champion. I do rearrange some of these so you guys don't get confused. Even though, like I said, I'm not really arranging these in the order that I think of them, only the tiers that I think of them, okay? Male Tidestorm, phenomenal. He's great at tech, right? He's the best way. And if you don't know what I mean by tech, tech is something you put on the board to assist everything else on the board. It's not something you put on the board to necessarily win. His tech of dragging an opponent from the back line, that's a tech. He drags them. That's why we couple him up with female Oogle, because he drags them into her spin to win. That's a tech. The Badger for the gun dwarves is a tech, right? You put it on the board specifically to throw off their positioning, not because the Dwarf or the Badger is going to win the game for you, but because the tech helps you. Okay? So he is a great tech. His ultimate is also one of the, if not the strongest ultimates in the game. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it's up there as far as how much damage. Now, the downfall to that is that it's a single target, but it is also a CC. It's a stun, so if for some reason it doesn't finish off the target, it stuns them so you can keep attacking them. Male Tidestorm, phenomenal. Female Tidestorm is B tier. I know a lot of people like her, and understand, again, we've moved the bar. She'd probably be teetering on A tier if I hadn't kind of moved the bar because of the champions that I'm putting in S tier versus who I'm putting in A tier right now. But she, at the same time, she's very replaceable. She's just a single target DPS. She's very replaceable. So although I think she's one of the better single target DPSs, she's very replaceable. She really is. She doesn't do as much damage as I think everybody thinks she does. I think everybody puts her on their board and sees that she does the most damage on their team and goes, oh, she's really good. She's not. She doesn't really. She doesn't offer that much, honestly. All right. Griffin. I got to put Griffin in C tier. Why? Because he's basically Doombringer without the fancy wings and horns. Go look at their stats in the codex. Come back and tell me what you think. Like, can we say they are identical male Doombringer versus male Griffin. And they have a very similar move, that knockback that they like to do. Very similar. Now, the ultimate and stuff changes, varies a little bit, the passive, but Griffin is just, I mean, both of them are just kind of bad, so C tier. All right, but the female, on the other hand, is somewhere just above Dirty Dog Water. Like, she's probably, I don't know. It's not even worth talking about. She's just bad. The Griffins are bad. I'm probably putting too many in the D tier class, but that's where they really all belong. She could maybe go up into C tier if we were going to argue about it. But other than that, that's about it. All right. Male liking it. I'm going to put him in B tier. I really like his fear. He's a nice tech, nice crowd control. I like his ability to get on the back line. If you're looking for, I've had some people message me, how can I play the Wolves? I really like the Wolves. If you're looking for a way to play the Wolves, I've released 2 comps on them. One around the male using the female Lumi to reactivate his ultimate so he can jump on both backline targets, blow them up, wipe out the backline, and then you're good to go. So try that one out, see what you think, tweak it. I haven't, it was one of those just kind of random draws when we put stuff together, and it happened and it worked out to be really good. It's honestly, it's one of the more fun ones that I think that I've done. So check that out. Unfortunately, a lot of times his ult triggers, he's in the backline, and then he's dead. And so the fear has a very small range, so sometimes he flexes, he does the fear, and nothing happens. So that's a little disappointing too. That's kind of what holds him down. He's better than the female Yiv. He's nowhere near male Yiv. But he's usable. He's usable. Like, there have been levels in the campaign that I just couldn't beat, and I would drop male Lycan on the board, and he would fear everybody, which would throw off everything. Like, he might be the best disruptor. You just make everybody spread out. His other downfall is that you can't pair him up. There's champions, strong champions, you can't pair him up with. You can't pair him up with female Oogle. She wants everybody to be gathered around. He spreads everybody out. It just doesn't work. Female Ignis. My understanding of her has changed over time. My very first tier list, she was D tier because she is a horrible assassin. She doesn't get to the back line. She doesn't even have a mechanic that could possibly, at least all the other ones, like male Yiv doesn't always end on the back line, but he has a possibility of getting back there. It's all determined by their energy. Female Yiv doesn't always get to the back line, but has a possibility of getting back there. It's based on their health. Male Ignis doesn't always get to the back line, but he has a good chance of getting back there because it's based on who has the lowest amount of defense. Female Ignis doesn't have any of that. But over time, my understanding of her has changed. And I made the comp on her about, I think it was called Dogs of War. Check it out if you're looking for a way to put her in your comp. She is a phenomenal. Like, okay, let's look at her skills. Okay, her passive is that it nukes healing. That's lifesteal healing. That's Lumi healing. That's Asin healing. Nukes healing. And I know. You're gonna read it. You're gonna go read the passive and say, "Well, belligerent. It only hurts the target that she's attacking." No, it hurts everybody on the board. In that video I just told you about, the Dogs of War video, I prove that it affects everybody on the board, even who she's not attacking. Okay? It's just poorly worded in the game. Her ultimate ability is Dirty Dog Water. Just ignore it. Like, those wolves are useless. They're just like the Badger, except for there's 2 of them. And they don't come out fast enough, so it's not a tech that you can throw positioning off with. Just her ult is bad and it's pointless, and it's not the reason that you play her. Her active 30% decrease on enemy strength and armor strip. Now, what makes that, that's essentially the male Asin passive, right? The only difference is his is always active and hers is on a timer, and it has to be activated. If anybody's wondering, the timer is 5 seconds. Okay, it lasts for 5 seconds, goes down for 5 more seconds, and so basically it's up every 5 seconds. Okay, but that's the same kind of advantage that you get from male Asin. A 30% increase over the enemy, basically. Okay? That's big. That's huge. So this might surprise some people, because in every other tier video I've had her low. I'm not putting her in the S tier, which is basically champions that I don't think you can replace. But she is definitely an A tier champion. I know there's probably going to be some surprised people. I know there might be some shock. I know there might be some arguments. She's really good. Try her out. Put her on your board. She can definitely find a place on your board. She's an alternative to male Yiv if you don't like. I value the energy control a little bit higher, but she can definitely like that. That can kind of be that interchangeable tech slot on your board where you're playing female Lionstone, male Asin, and then either Yiv or Ignis. She's really, really good. All right, time for the 3 new tiers. Did I really just say that? Time for the 3 new clans that have never yet been in my tier list. Lumi, Scorching Fire, and Nas. All right, so Lumi first. The Lumi clan, the male Lumi, I know everybody's a huge fan of him except for me. Healing is overrated. His revive is not overrated. It's really strong, but you're giving up a lot to put him on the board to have that revive. But healing is not as strong as we all like to think it is. So, like, I had a friend, I had a buddy show me a video and say, look at how strong my Lumi's healing is in an arena battle. And I was like, actually, your Lumi is the reason that you lost that. I mean, he won the battle, don't get me wrong, but he lost the champion, and that was because his mages nuked the board, and there was a couple champions that had, like, I don't know, 20%, 10% of their health left. And they ended up killing another one of his champions. I was like, if you had Asin in there instead of Lumi, you'd have had the additional damage you needed to just wipe out that board. So he's actually, the healing is actually the reason that you lost, not the reason that you won. So don't like him, not that great. Female Lumi, I'm dropping in C tier here. She is I like her as a tech, but the reason that I put her in C tier is the tech is not as, you're giving up an entire board space just to repeat an ultimate, and there aren't very many ultimates that are worth repeating. And I see a lot of people making the mistake with this. Like, oh yeah, I just double ultimate with my Ignis. That's a mistake. A double ultimate with my Folger. That's a mistake. And here's the reason why. Ignis ultimate, Lumi ultimate, and then Ignis ultimate. There's all this time that has to happen there. Meanwhile, the other team, their 2 or 3 nuke mages all go at the same time. And so you get blown up first because you were waiting on this back and forth. If you just replace female Lumi with a Folger and then you have Ignis and Folger ulting at the same time, you nuke the board and it's great. This little back and forth ping pong match where with Lumi repowering the Ignis ult, that's not the way she's supposed to be used. The way she's supposed to be used is the way I used her in the male likeness comp that I was just telling you about, where you have a single target ultimate that you want to make happen multiple times. And then with that composition, my male Lycan would ult the back line, blow up one of the DPS on the back line, and then female Lumi would trigger his ultimate again, so he would dive on the other backline DPS. There, that's an ultimate that I want to repeat because I need it to hit both DPSs, but it only hits one by itself. Female Lumi makes that happen a second time. It's not there to repeat an AoE mage ultimate because you can just do that and get more value and more damage out of putting a regular AoE nuke mage on the board, and there's plenty of them to put on the board. Scorching Fire. All right, Scorching Fire clan. A lot of people like it. They look really cool. Don't get me wrong. They're not that good. The male Scorching Fire, let's take a look at this. What is he when you boil it down? When you get past the cool looks and, this and that, what is he when you boil it down? He's 2/3 of an AoE nuke mage. He only hits 3 targets. We're in an AoE nuke mage meta. That's why Ignis and Folgers are so strong. Asin is so strong. He would be really strong, but he only hits 3 targets. That doesn't help. Well, there's 2 targets that I'm ignoring completely. Plus, as far as I know, it's random. I don't it's 3 targets. How does he ever find a place on your board over a mage that nukes the entire board? It makes no sense. He doesn't offer anything. The female, I'm going to put in C tier. She's not much above D tier. I do like her, and again, I hope this meta changes. I hope the F-Lion into nuke AoE mages changes so we have a chance to play with some of these champions that they've given us that don't excel in such a fast-paced meta. Because I think the female Scorching Fire is like a badass battle mage. She's one of the tankier champions in the game. When I was trying her out, a lot of the times, even when I would lose, she was the last champion on my team standing because she's so tanky. I love the 10-second AoE. It's just that 10-second, it's nuked by 75%, so that hurts it, and it's just too slow. It doesn't work fast enough. She does have a silence. The active ability is great. It's a silence. It's a 5-second silence, and it's active, which means it comes out before the ultimate happens. Put her across from a female Lionstone, you can delay the ult. Stuff like that. I don't know that she warrants a place on the board, though, unfortunately. So that's why they're both kind of low. Alright. Now we got the Nas clan. They're warriors. Warriors are bad. I I don't have a lot of experience with these two yet. So this is definitely an unproven rating. I'm going to put her in C and him in B. Okay. Again, Warriors not that great. I think they are probably somewhere right below female Doombringer, but above the rest of the Warriors. I think the male has some good disruption in his kit. But again, I think it's all too slow for what our meta is right now. And so that's how I see him. Now, if I know this video was long, thank you for hanging out with me. And I apologize about this, the way this appears on my phone. I do all of my videos on my phone. So that's why this one is strong. If you want the graphic of this allows me to download the graphic. We're going to put it on the Discord. And don't let me down now. I want to see the arguments. I want to see you roast me. I expect it from tier lists. So drop the comments down below. If you liked this, like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend. I'm Belligerent. Peace.